Today. Now, it's the young who get the blame for Britain's boozy image, with scenes of drunken carnage on a Friday and Saturday night. But the official statistics tell a rather different story. Problem drinking is on the rise, not among teenagers, but among their grandparents. In fact, young people are drinking less, taking fewer drugs, and teenage pregnancies are falling too. With their generation disproportionately affected by the economic crisis, rebellion has been replaced by angst about lack of jobs and spiralling debt. However, the over-60s, largely immune from the cuts, are spending like never before. As the old cut loose and the young cat back, we've polled 1,000 over-60s and under-30s to find out more about this generational role reversal in the first of our series of special reports. In the 1960s, the baby boomers revolutionized growing up. Now they're retiring and shaking up old age too.
I've got every intention of growing old disgracefully.
My generation was quite selfish compared with the previous generation.
We've spoken to 1,000 over 60s and under 30s in an exclusive poll for Channel 4 News.
These stereotypes like hood rats, drinking, smoking.
What we say about skydiving is the best fun you can have with your trousers on.
We asked their views on drink and drunkenness as a barometer to gauge their attitudes to life.
It's got to be 20 pints, you know.
I've never had alcohol and I've never drunk it.
We found teenagers and pensioners taking part in a generational role reversal. At an airfield just outside Nottingham, this group of skydivers is attempting to break the UK record for the largest number of skydivers over 60 in formation at the same time. Far from slowing down, today's older people are instead making the most of improving health to enjoy retirements packed with fun and adventure.
My gap years have been the last 10 years since I retired, and I've been having a blast, I really have.
With these skydivers spending on average £5,000 a year, it doesn't come cheap. But this generation has become known as the one that's spending the kids' inheritance.
It's the buzz, it's the adrenaline. It's a great escape.
Putting my feet up isn't an option at the moment. I've not even dreamt of doing that.
Boomers like Caroline, who is 68, are becoming such daredevils that older people now account for 20% of all insurance claims for extreme sports.
A friend of mine who's 82 and has been working out in the gym and skydiving for years and years, he's been thinking about giving up, and he managed to break his femur yesterday, which is his first serious injury. I hope I'll have a sense to quit before I break something, but who knows. I'm looking forward to doing skydivers over 70.
79-year-old Shirley also doesn't want to stop what she loves doing. As retirement approached, she got her first passport and went on a charity trek to Egypt.
I had the chance of climbing Mount Sinai and walking in the desert, and it was one where I thought I would be hanging my boots up forever, and but instead of that it opened so many doors.
12 countries later, and she's preparing to take off again.
I'm very lucky. I'm on the group that's going out to Myanmar, which we know as Burma, and we're going to a trek and for 10 days in the jungle. I think we make a very nice group as well, dear.
It's no luxury break, and her children think her husband David should stop her.
They're afraid that she'll get some physical injury or ailment that's going to spoil the last few years of her life. That's why they don't want her to do it.
This is my time, and this is how I like to fill it, and it's my choice. And now the 80s is coming up, so I don't know what the 80s is going to bring for me, but it's going to be a lot of fun, I can assure you.
As Shirley anticipates her fun-filled 80s, for this group, who aren't even yet 18, fears about their futures and finances weigh heavy.
A lot of us are scared that we won't make it. A lot of us are scared about jobs because everything's running out, everything's getting tighter, everything's getting more expensive.
It's worries like student debt that are creating a new kind of teenage angst. In our poll, a quarter of under-30s said they didn't drink in case it affected their judgment.
At this age, we have so much pressure to go to uni, find out what we have to do. There's no space for mistakes, such as getting drunk.
I don't drink alcohol. I've never touched it in my life, and I just think it's just a responsibility that I feel like, what if the past does affect your future?
With high youth unemployment, 1 in 10 said they avoided alcohol in case pictures of them drunk appeared online and damaged their career prospects.
I got really quite intoxicated and people started taking pictures of me, and I didn't mind until they started putting on Facebook and social media and things, and that really bothered me because I thought, I just don't, it was just a horrible image to get rid of. You can't, once you've got that mark against your name, you can't really get rid of it.
So rather than going drinking with their friends, a quarter of them are choosing to socialise online. But for their grandparents, drinking is very much part of the routine. At this pub, the retired crowd are spending their pensions on enjoying themselves.
I've got every intention of growing old disgracefully, and so we do a lot of the things that we would have liked to have done 30 years ago, but we're able to do them now.
Tony even spent his 60th birthday in Ibiza, partying with his son.
It took me 2 weeks to get over it, after it, but we was dancing in manumissions at 4 o'clock in the morning.
To Tony, a glass of wine might be what I would look at as a treble. He says, no, that's just a normal drink. But I know he thinks he's trying to pull the wool over my eyes.
We found older people to have a more laissez-faire attitude to alcohol and to be less concerned by the official advice on how many units are safe to drink in a week.
We have had the odd one that has one too many sometimes, yeah. But if they have one too many, then we take them home. Not a problem.
On a good week, it's got to be 20 pints, maybe even more. But when you're socialising amongst friends, some nights it's 3 or 4 pints, no problem.
There's so many things that you hear every day that you can't drink, you can't eat, whether it be coffee, tea, alcohol. And to be honest, I just want to enjoy what's left of my life and my retirement, and I take absolutely no notice of it at all.
For years, it's been the young blamed for Britain's boozy image, and in fact, in our poll, over half of old people still believe that the young drink more, are more violent, and are less community-minded than they were 15 years ago. But the young people say it's not them with the problem.
Adults don't realise how much they're drinking because they'll have a glass of wine and then they'll be drinking it. And some adults do drink in the afternoons.
My granddad, he drinks whiskey every day. He thinks of it, it's part of his routine. He has it with his lunch, his dinner.
Say I'm on a bus, I would always get these dirty looks from the older generation, older people, and I feel quite disrespected by that.
With the young turning their backs on rebellion, it seems that teenage kicks are going to be left to the old. In Nottingham, the skydivers have broken the over-60s UK record.
Congratulations, everyone.
The baby boomers' lucky generation is determined to go out with a bang. The question is whether the young will ever afford the chance to cut loose and enjoy the same opportunities.
Well, joining us now from West London is Virginia Ironside, the author and agony aunt, who turned 70 this year, and Katie Morley in the studio, a 20-something financial writer who's campaigned to improve young people's retirement prospects. Virginia Ironside first. I know you don't drink, but I mean, look, you're having a dinner party there on a Monday night. You're really living it up, aren't you?
Well, I do like being very, very social because, I mean, I'm in a very lucky position. I'm in London, I'm not poor, and I'm sure, that makes a big difference. I'm single, so it means that I have to have a social life, otherwise I go mad with boredom. But I'm more confident because I'm old. I mean, my memory of being young I must say, it was just being miserable till I was married, really, and had children, just waiting for the phone to ring. I think being young at any time, however much you see people having this great time, actually I think they're all pretty gloomy, and nobody tells you enough what fun lies ahead when you're older.
Katie Morley, are you miserable or indeed as sober as some of those young people in the film?
No, I think I can't pretend that I've basically spent my youth sitting at home drinking cups of tea and surfing the internet. You know, I've been out having a good time like millions of other young people. So I think, you know, we need to be careful not to stereotype the generations. I think with this kind of debate, one of the most dangerous things we can do is pit the generations against each other and try and make out that either one is selfish, because that's clearly not the case.
So you don't envy Virginia's living it up then?
Well, I think that this is a macroeconomic issue, and one of the big issues here is young people's finances and the state of them. Young people in this country face a savings crisis, and you know, Britain has an inequality problem, and that inequality is becoming a generational issue.
Virginia, don't you feel a bit selfish when you see 20-somethings like Katie, you know, struggling to get on the housing ladder? They've got paltry pensions, and you know, they're struggling to get a job in some cases.
Well, yes, but I mean, I don't think I had it that easy. You know, I was also looking for jobs and having it was pretty grisly then, and there was no Facebook and no internet.
But rather easier.
If you were alone of an evening, you couldn't chat to anyone except on the telephone.
Okay, but rather easier to get on the property ladder.
I envy them that. Sorry?
Rather easier to get on the property ladder, though.
Yes, it was. Yes, that's true. But as far as social life went, it was grim and lonely. And now, at least, if you're in your one room, you talk to everybody in the world, which I think is a huge benefit for young people. We never could.
Katie, the
20-something... I mean, I don't do it now.
Actually, the rise of the internet has been shown. There have been numerous studies that have shown that actually young people are a very lonely generation because they tend to be sat at home on the internet. That's certainly no replacement for, you know, real socialising. And actually, I think these, you know, this social trend is a symptom of their financial state. I think there's so many factors that are sort of that are making this economic situation for them. If you look at jobs, you look at the cost of education, that's rising and rising, so much more difficult to get on the housing ladder, uncertainty of pensions. There are so many factors that are causing this.
But isn't it a rite of passage to be a bit broke when you're young? I mean, aren't you having a bit of a moan?
Well, I think that, you know, previous generations have struggled in you know, when they were young, but I don't think we can actually compare previous decades to now. We now live in a globalised world, and I think the challenges that young people face today are actually non-comparable with those of the past.
Virginia, do you feel like you should give up some of the pensioner perks to make amends with the young?
No, I don't, because I mean, I think that your guest Kate is going to have a very nice time when she's old, as I do. So and who knows? I mean, I think she's quite right. You can't compare these things, and I'm not quite sure how I'd do this. I mean, actually, it so happens that I've got very young people coming to supper tonight, and you know, maybe that's the way I'm making amends.
Bridging the generational divide. Will you be in Ibiza on your 70th birthday, Katie?
I really, really hope so. I'm not particularly worried about my future, but I do worry a lot about other people of my generation, people who are not as fortunate as me.
Katie Morley, Virginia Ironside, thank you very much for joining me. And tomorrow night, in the next instalment of our series, we'll be hearing from those growing up determined to battle what they believe is an unfair image of a young generation turned bad.